Hey guys, welcome to a Cooperation Laboratory video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write or build a decentralized application on the RChain platform. Before we go into building the application, I would like to say a little thing about the Cooperation Laboratory or CoLab. The Cooperation Laboratory is a community of individuals that are cooperating to become proficient in the emerging technologies surrounding RChain. What this means is that we have work studies where we work on activities such as functional programming, where we write Roland codes. Now, Roland is the language of RChain or the programming language of RChain, where we run RChain nodes, we build decentralized application and libraries such as GraphQL libraries, web applications, Discord bots, and also produce video tutorials such as this. Now, the benefits of Colab are that you get to create value for the RChain cooperative. Also, you get to grow your skills and you have access to educational resources, and also you earn bounties from team participation and idea generation. You can see our Discord server, which we use in coordinating our activities. Also, you could join us for work studies on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. GMT. And you can also see on the screen a Zoom link to our work study sessions. Back to the tutorial. What you're going to learn today is how to install and run our node, how to write and deploy Roland contracts to our node, and how to deploy a Roland code from a JavaScript interface to running our node instance using the RChain API. The requirements for this course or this crash course is the R node software. You can see a link to download right there on your screen, Node.js and the Node Package Manager, the RChain API, and the text editor. Now for this tutorial, we will be using the version 6.3 since it's more compatible with the application that we're building. So in the releases, you would see other more recent versions that you could also work with. Now you can see on the screen the application that we're going to build. Here you could input data and click a button which should trigger a deploy and propose command. We could register and also call a particular contract. And then if I go to my terminal, you should see the contract deployed. Now, I would recommend that you're using a Mac operating system or a Linux operating system, preferably the Ubuntu distribution of Linux, as RNO does not yet support the Windows operating system. And even if you're a Windows user, then you have to get a virtual box that could run Linux on your machine for you to be able to successfully run RNode. Although there's an option of running RNode on Docker for Windows, but I wouldn't advise you to do that. It's not yet very stable. Okay, I am going to grab the link here, copy link address, and open up a terminal. Do a wget, paste the link, and then install or download rather the RNode software. So after download, to install the RNode software, say apt or sudo apt install RNode 6.3. To check the version, you could easily say RNode version. It should give you the version number, that is 0.6.3. So we have successfully installed RNode on our machine. In case you don't have them, is to install the Node.js and the Node's package manager. So then open the terminal. You have to create a project folder. Personally, I already have a project folder, so I'm just going to cd into my Roland projects folder. Create a new directory for the project and color game. Also cd or change directory into the new folder we just created. Then we're going to do an npm init, which should set up our package.json file. The name of our application is nth color game. Version description, a demo, RChain, DAP. Entry point, I prefer to call mine app.js. You could also call yours server.js or main.js if you desire. The rest, the fields, you could leave them blank. So there we have our package.json file. Open our text editor and locate the folder of the application we just created. Okay, open up your package.json file. We could see the same script we created from the command line here. Okay, what I'm going to do now is to set up our dependencies. You could also do this from the command line, but I prefer doing mine directly in the code editor since it's much easier and faster to do that way. So the first dependency we're going to require is the express dependency. Express. And then if you know the current or latest or the version that you desire to use for your project, then you could input that in. I want us to grab the latest version, so I'm going to use an asterisk for that so that npm automatically gets us the latest version of Express. So another dependency we're going to be using is the body parser. We're also going to do the same thing for the body parser. We're going to get the latest version of it. The third dependency we're going to be requiring is the gRPC. We're also going to get the latest gRPC. And finally, we're going to require the rchain API. For this, you'll need to grab the link on GitHub for the rchain API. Once you grab the link, you go back to your text editor and paste it here. So I'm going to go back to my terminal now and do an npm install of all our dependencies. So you can see the node modules that we have successfully installed representing the dependencies. And a double L, yeah. So in this contract, we're going to have a contract end color factory that should hold the records for the name of the game and the number to be called. Also, we should have a contract game ID that should hold the name of the player and also a return channel. And we should also have a conditioner that holds that prints out a winning result or a try again result. So now I'm going to write a persistent receive for game ID and number at the nth color factory channel. Now this is one way you could write a persistent receive. What is more common is using contract, which is the syntactic sugar for writing persistent receives. So that's what we're going to be doing now. We'll have the contract at nth color factory, listening for game ID and the number to be called. So the very first thing we're going to do inside this is to have an unforgeable name new count channel, and then set the default count to 1. Okay, now we're going to create a second contract, which is the game ID that should hold the record for the name of the player and the result. So now we're going to listen for the old count on the count channel. Old count, the count channel. And then set a conditional that should say if the number that is called is equal to the old count, Then the result should be a success message that says congrats, the name, concatenation of the name, you win. Else, it should say results, sorry, also concatenation of the name, please try again. Okay, so there we have our rule and contract. Okay, one more thing is missing, I think, to get the new count, that is the old count plus the plus one, which is the default count inside of the count channel. Okay, so to test this out, we're gonna use the CryptoFX IDE to see if there are any errors. So I'm just gonna copy this and paste this in. Run that. Now good, we don't have any errors, so our code, our smart contract is correct. So spin up a standalone node where we'll be able to deploy our Roland contract to. So we have our node run -s, which means standalone, or the standalone flag, -n, the no UPnP flag, and then you need a copy of your private key. Now there is a node testing sheet, a spreadsheet that holds a lot of private keys. So I have one written there. When you run a standalone node for the first time, it should generate about 5 private key files. So you could get a private key from there also. So since I have one here, I could just easily use that. So I have dash validator private key, and then paste in the private key and run that, so we can see the node standing up. So right there on the screen now, you can see created validator about 5 times. So those are 5 different validator private keys, or 5 different files that hold validator private keys that you could use. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cd into the projects folder. So I have cd Roland project, cd and color row file, have our node deploy and color.row. So that's a success. So we're having a success. Okay, so we could see the deploy at the bottom. So what we're going to do now is to create an integration test. Say integration.row. That should help us to test for the contracts we've written. So we're going to create a send for game ID and number on the nth color factory. To create new channels, that's the name of the game, an acknowledgement channel, and a standard out acknowledge, which should print to. That should be acknowledged, yeah. A message on the standard out acknowledge that should tell us in my game, that should call the winner of the game. David wins. So in this game, we want David to be the winner. And then we should also send acknowledge as a process inside of this. to do a send on the nth color factory of the game ID. That's what have nth color factory, my game. Now remember, we're quoting because my game is already a name, so we're using the asterisk to quote it into a process. So we could do a send, and then we're sending also the number that should be called, meaning that David will have to be the second caller to win the game. Okay, we'll have to listen for a new message and acknowledgement for the first caller. And then in order for us to achieve a first, second, third order, it means we'll have to nest each caller inside the other, because Rolang is concurrent by nature. So for us to achieve a first, second, third call, we'll have to nest it. If we were to do it without the nesting, it means that Rolang would treat each of the calls are going to happen at the same time. Okay, so we're going to do my game. Now we're doing a send for the my game or the game ID contract. Now we're saying my game, which is game ID in this case, Valentine, acknowledge. So we're making Valentine to be the first caller. Then we want the response to be sent or to be received on the acknowledgement channel, the results to be received on the acknowledgement channel. And also we want it to be printed to standard out acknowledge. We want the results and then acknowledgement to be printed. Remember, we said we said the second caller should win, and also earlier we wanted David to win, so we're going to make David the second caller. We're going to do exactly the same thing that we did in the first case. I'm going to say my game, David, acknowledge. Okay, let me make this a little bit better so it could be readable. I'm going to say for results, acknowledge, standard out, acknowledge the results, and also acknowledge. Then we'll do for the third person, for third caller, my game. Let's say the third caller, that's Daisy. An acknowledgement. And we're doing the four results on the acknowledgement channel, and also printing the results and acknowledgement. Okay, so this is a little integration test. Okay, we're gonna deploy this now to our nodes. We're gonna deploy the integration test, integration.row. You're getting a success, then we'll check out our node, and yes, we can see a receive deploy. So let's move straight to our text editor and create a new file, index.html. So create a HTML file now. So doc type, bang sign, HTML. So have, okay, for our page title, we want that to be and or demo chain that. Also want that to be app.js rather than main.js. So inside our body, we're going to do a paragraph that says nth color game be the correct color. We're going to create a h1 body tag to register a game. And say register a new game. Say game ID. And then do an input for the game ID. And separate that into. I'm gonna say inputs with an ID of new game ID, a type of text, okay. I'm gonna say winning color inputs and an ID of n, which is the number that should be called, and a type of number. Okay, I'm going to create a button for an ID of register, a register button. Okay, we're going to say use strict and then grab all the data as soon as the web page loads. So we say document add event listener, DOM loaded. Then an arrow function. That should be comma. So say let our new game ID be equal to the document. Now I want to get the ID of the new game. Let me separate that also. So say the document add event listener. Oh, sorry, we are supposed to say get elements by ID, not add event listener. So we're gonna get the new game ID and also want to get n, which is the number. So we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna say document get elements by ID and then n. Okay. Now we're going to impute our client.js script inside of our index.html file. So we're going to say document get element by ID for register, add event listener. We're adding an event listener for the register button. So on click, it should call the register function. Any of this any longer. So what we want to do now is to write the function, the register function. So we'll say function register Say firstly, we want to validate that the from the browser or from the fields we have in the browser. So we say if new game ID the value equal to null and end that value equal to null, then we should log to the console a message that says game ID and winning color are required. No game is registered. Okay, then a return. So this is just to validate that we're getting data from our browser. Then we're going to say let body be equal to an object of ID, new game ID, the value, and n, which is a number, equal to parsed integer and the value 10. Now we're going to grab the data from the browser. I would say make post register. That should be body. Now we're saying the then data array function console.log data.message new game ID.value and then we're returning the value to null after we've sent the message. So we're going to create a new function make post with parameters of route and body. We're saying let requests be equal to an object of method posts headers an object also accept application slash JSON and content type also application slash JSON. Okay, we're gonna say body now is JSON. Let's stringify that as I'm gonna send a message as a JSON, and then return fetch routes request, then then promise of response return response.json. Next thing we're gonna do now is to create our server file, which is app.js. We're also gonna say usestrict. In case you're not familiar with the usestrict, you could do a Google search. You could do a Google search of that. Now we're gonna require all the dependencies we installed earlier. We'll say const express equal to require express. Now we require body parser also. and we require gRPC. And finally, we require the RChain API. Now, what we do for this is to require our node and row core. Set that to require RChain API. So we're grabbing our node and row core from the RChain API module. Okay, having set up our dependencies, now we're going to set up our connection. Say var hosts process that argument. We're setting that to localhost. Now we're having a ports, a gRPC port. Say process. We're setting that to 40401, which is the default gRPC port. Now having a UI port. That should be 3. Same process dot arguments. We're listening on port 8080. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is to configure the Express app and our node connection. Say var my node equals to our node gRPC host and port, and var express var app equals to express. Then app use body parser the JSON, app use express.static directory name. Okay, now we're going to start the Express app. And let me write some comments here. This is setup host and ports. This is setup Express app and our nodes connection. And then start Express app. So say app.listen for UI ports. This will console.log. I'll print to the console that game dep server started. Oops, this should be game dep started. This should be strings. And let's say another console message connected to our node at the host port. Hosts. Oops, this should be backticks. Yeah, backticks. Host and ports. And finally, we should print to the console the last message that says started on UI port. Okay, this is okay to start the application. Now we're going to handle registration of new games. Say app.post register the requests and response, an arrow function. I'm gonna say let code be equal to nth color factory. What we're doing here is an actual send, just similar to the send that we did in integration, the integration.row file. So we're saying nth color factory, and we're sending name of the game request.body.id. There should be backward ticks, yeah, and requests dot body dot n, which is number to be called, and we're going to say let deploy data be equal to term code timestamp new date that value of, so creating a timestamp for each deploy. Now we're going to say my node dot do deploy and a bracket deploy data, then a promise dot then results, and an arrow function. Now here we're going to make our node to create a block. Let me add a comment. Let's say make our node create a block. So say return my node dot create block, and then a promise. Dot then results, an arrow function again. Now we'll send a JSON response. So say res dot response dot end JSON dot stringify message results with dot catch. Oops, we said that. Console.log error. So that's it for our server. I'm gonna take out the excess braces we have here. Now we're missing one brace. Let's see which isn't closed yet. We'll have this. Okay, we're missing a brace, an opening brace, I believe. Okay, we don't have one here. That should be an opening brace. Yeah. Okay, so we're set for our server. Okay, we'll check for errors. Check our client.js file also. Oops, this should be accept. Yeah, we'll check every file we have to see if we get any errors. So we'll open up our terminal and then cd into the projects folder. If we should start using nodes, then each time we'll have to run our each time we make changes to the application, we'll have to kill the node and restart again. But it would be best we use nodemon. Nodemon automatically refreshes the server for you. So I have nodemon installed, but to install that you say npm -g nodemon. I already have that installed, so I'm gonna cut this out and do nodemon app.js, and yes, we have our application running. So what we have to do now is move to localhost 8080. There we can see application, then open up our console. Yeah, we're getting an error. I think require is not defined. That should be an error with our index.html. Yeah, we're serving the server file. You're not supposed to serve your server file. You're only supposed to serve your client file. So yep, the error is gone. So we're entering a game, say my game, and a number. Oops, we're getting a post 500 error. Okay, let's see if there's any hints as to the error here. Let's check what nodemon is saying. Yeah, so nodemon is telling us that deployed data is not defined. Okay, so let's go to our source codes and app.js, deploy data. Yeah, so we misspelled that. That should be deploy data. I think that should solve the problem. So nodemon automatically refreshes. So we re-enter that. The sucker, register that. I think that worked. So go back to, and yes, we could see that we've successfully deployed the game from our browser side. So it's saying the block creator has weight error. That should be an issue with the standalone node we have created. Yeah, so having an invalid and slashable block. What I'm gonna do now is attempt to connect to a cloud node, that is robot.net. At Colab we have a, a node running on a cloud machine, robot.net. So I'm gonna attempt connecting to that node. So we'll do a tail-f of our log file. Nodemon automatically refreshes. So enter my game, the winning color. So once we check a node here, we could see the deploy and the block added on our robot.net. So yes, that works. Now we're no longer getting the invalid unslashable block or the block weight error because the node here is running just fine. So what we're going to do now is to call the contract and try to win. So we're going to say play an existing game. And we'll do almost the same thing as to what we did with the register a new game. we're gonna say game ID. So that imputes with an ID, call game ID, type of text, and then your name, which is the name of the person, imputes ID for name, type, text, and then we're gonna have a button with an ID, an ID of call, and then a paragraph, an ID of status. Okay, so move over to a client.js file and add the IDs we just added to our index.html file for the files, the IDs to be grabbed. So we'll have call game ID, and we'll say document dot get element by ID. Say a call game ID. Then we say let name get elements by ID document the get elements by ID. Say name. I will say finally let results key document dot get element by ID status. And then we'll add another event listener. Say document dot get element by ID call this time around. And we add event listener on click call the call function. So now we're going to create a call function. So we're going to say function call. Now we're going to validate the data also like we did the previous time. We're going to say if call game ID dot value is equal to null or empty. Then we should print to the console that game ID is required, and no call made, or no call was made. And do a return. The next thing we're going to do, similar to the register function, is to set up our requests. We're going to say let body be equal to ID of call game ID dot value, and name dot value. Then we're going to send the request and to say make post call body then do a dot then of data error function. Then we say see what we're going to check if we get if we're getting any data. Then we'll say if there is no data, it should print to the console a message that says no such game found. Else it should do a result p dot inner HTML of data dot message. Okay, I think that's that for the client.js. We're gonna handle users or handle players, call it in, call in the winning number or call in the number to win. So we say app.posts call requests response an error function. I'm gonna say let's act be equal to math random the string and then a 6 and then substring seven. Think we're missing something. Might that be? Think we're missing our opening brace here. Yeah, so that's it. We're missing an opening brace. And so I'm gonna say let code be equal to the game ID. That is the name of the game. It's similar to what we did earlier with the end color factory. So we're gonna say at requests body.id send. Okay, remember we'll have a contract for game ID that listens for a person's name and the result. So we're gonna do a send for the name. So we say request dot body dot name, and then the acknowledgement process. Say acknowledge, and also say let's deploy data be equal to term like we did the last time, term code timestamp new date dot value of. Gonna say my node dot do deploy, then say deploy data and a promise dot then an error function which return my node. Now we'll have to get the our node to create a block. So say my node dot create block. Then the dot then once again. And there should be an error function. Return and say get the data from our node. We're going to try to get data from our node to say my node dot listen for data at name. Say dot then block results another array function, and we say if block results, it should be dot length. If this is equal to 0, you should have a response dot end as JSON, say JSON.stringify, say success false. Return that. Now we'll try to grab the last message that was sent. So we say var last block is equal to block results dot slice -1 dot pop, and var last datum to last block dot post block data dot slice dot pop. We also want that to be JSON. So we say res dot end as JSON, and JSON dot stringify we're gonna say success true, say row core to row lang last datum um, oops, there should be a message somewhere. There should be a message before the row core. Say message row core, yes, got that. So we're gonna do the dot catch once again. Oops, array function. Then we'll say console.log error. Okay, so I think we're having excess braces. Not having any errors, that's good news. So yeah, we're not having any errors either in our client.js. Okay, all our files seems to be in other, so we'll go to a browser, refresh. I'll have play an existing game. So say enter a game and a game number. Yeah, we should see that in our log. And try to play an existing game. Say, the game and David Cole. So check that. And there we can see soccer, the name of the game, and David, which is the color, right there in our log. So we've successfully communicated with our R node from our JavaScript client-side interface. So there you have it. We've just successfully created a decentralized application on the RChain platform. Yes, although the application is quite simple, but it is often the simple things that give birth to the greater things. Now, this is I'm once again inviting you to join Collab. We have our Rolang and Arnold work study sessions every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Mondays at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. GMT. The Zoom room you could see on your screen is the address or the Zoom address for our work study sessions. It will be so wonderful to have you come around and join us. Now we're going to be churning out other wonderful videos and tutorials that could help you become better at writing rule-line contracts, running R nodes, becoming a validator on the R chain network, and other technologies. So please make sure you like the video and drop your comments in the comment section. Till next time, I'd say it's a goodbye from me, and I hope to hear from you soon.